So, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, it's a great pleasure again to address you all, and hope we are going to start studying more about Srotus in coming days. The concept of Srotus is very old. It is even described from the Charaka Samhita, one of the oldest book available for Ayurveda. And when we try to understand the word in Sanskrit, what does it mean by Srotas? It is comes from the word of Sanskrit grammar, which means that which exudate or ooze. It also have the meaning that which will filter or that which flow in a proper way. So it can be anything, but in the body, if something is traveling from one place to another place through different channels or different pathways, all those things can be considered as srotas. Very oftenly, people will correlate these srotas with the different systems of the medicine. But many times I want to highlight that there are so many channels which is not visible at all. So fundamentally, the concept of Srotas or the idea of the Srotas is very important because many of the pathologies happening in the body are limited to Srotas, disturbance of the Srotas, or even turbulence of the Srotas. While explaining different pathology, reason for different pathologies, they use the word Kavaigunya, that is, Ka represents the Srotas. Here, Ka represents the channel or the hollow space. So, when we consider our body in totality, we have so many micro Srotases, also we have macro Srotases. For example, from mouth to rectum, there is a big pipe called alimentary tract, which is one of the big Srotas. When we inhale oxygen, other things, it will go to a big tube called trachea, which is connected to the lung. Again, another big Srotas. And look at the lumen, part of the intestine, small intestine or large intestine. That's also a typical Srotas. And in the other way, you can see also very small Srotas like micro channels, like a lumen of the capillary or the semi-permeable membrane of the skin or the cell. Through there is many things are transferring each other. And there are innumerable micro channels, micro Srotases also, which we cannot see through our naked eyes or even under microscope. While describing the heart function, physiology, people speaks about calcium channel, sodium channel, potassium channels, like that also. And those channels we cannot see. So considering all those things, we can say that the Srotas are innumerable in the body. But for practical purposes and the functionalities, Ayurveda majorly classified 13 Srotas. And those are the three vital elements, that is prana, udaka, anna. Three important things become their own Srotasas. So like food, water and air, the very basic functionality we need have its own channels. Then we have Sapta Dhatu, that is different Dhatus, seven Dhatus have seven Srotasas. Then we have other Mala, that is Purisha, Mutra, Sweda. Three Mala also have their own Srotas. And you can see there is no description for Srotas for Vata, Pitta, Kapha because it is there everywhere in the body. So it doesn't need any channels. Some scholars has opinion that dosha also have its own channels, but Ayurveda not agree with that. Now the question is, what is the purpose of the Srotas? And why we need these things and what it does for our body? One thing is that it will have a function that it will produce or manufacture something. Then that dhatu Srotas may have a transformation or a metabolism through the Srotas. Another most important role of Srotas is to do the transportation. It has to transport things from one side to another side. It depends upon from where it originates, where it ends, but it does continuous transportation of things. And lastly, also the Utsarjana, that some of the Shrotas also have a strong efficiency to eliminate the waste. Just like how Mutravaha Shrotas, urine is eliminated properly, Purishavaha Shrotas for fecal matter, like that. While describing these type of thing in the classical book Charaka Samhita, Charaka described that whole body exists because of the Shrotas. Charaka says that if body want to exist, it needs growth, metabolism, transformation, and all these functions are done with the help of Shrotas only. So different type of transformation body need is essentially identified by the body, and through different Shrotas that duty has been done. So there is a belief that whole body is made up of Shrotas. That means everything happening in the body in a natural way, whether it is gross or subtle, whether it is biological or energetic channels, everything comes under the Shrotas. But comparing to Charaka, Vagbada and Sushruta has a different opinion about Shrotas. That means that both of them considered channels Shrotas are there all over the body. And they describe that it is there in each and every part of the body. So it is which is helpful for transformation and metabolism. And when we look into the synonyms of the Shrotas, there are so many words has been written in synonyms of Shrotas. For example, Sira, Dhamani, Nadi, Ashaya, there are so many synonyms they used in the Shrotas, or I can say many times these words are used interchangingly. In general sense, Sira means vein or Dhamani means arteries, but there are, you can see in the classical textbooks itself, sometimes Shrotas are called Sira, Dhamani, etc. But what I understood is that these are synonyms are nothing but the instead of telling the alternative name, these are named after functions. For example, big Shrotas called Sthula Shrotas are named after very specific to what it carries. Whereas the micro Shrotas are innumerable, they are not named at all. But remember that the knowledge of dead body, knowledge of the vessels were there in the BC 400 or 500 years. 400 to 500 BC itself, we had these understanding. And another interesting aspect of the Shrotas is how you classify the Shrotas. The commonest classification is what can be visible or the gross, and what can be subtle or very minute. The Sthula Shrotas, which is gross one, it is limited in number. For example, you can see special Shrotas also, like for menstrual cycle, you have Artava Shrotas. Like that also, there are extra Shrotas also mentioned. And it is believed that the Shrotas are pulsating in nature. But there are also so many Shrotas that secrete inside, not outside. That means to say, sometimes the Shrotas can be directing towards inside. Another important aspect of the Shrotas is the characters of the Shrotas. So the question is, why blood vessels looks red in color? Because the color comes due to that dhatu which is there in that body. Another important is that Srotas can be very minute, like microscopic. There are specific shape also been described in different Srotas, but generally they are considered as circular in nature, tubular and circular. So if you have to be very careful to know the type of the Srotas, because some Srotas can be all pervading, available everywhere. Sometimes it may be limited to particular area. When we speak about the gross or the major channels of the Srotas, we have 13 in number. Not Ashwanda.
Sorry?
The channels can be very big and very long. That means like elementary tract is quite big from mouth to rectum, so many meters. So I mentioned here all the 13 Srotas plus Srotas for the channel for the mind too. Even though Manas is all pervading, so many times people will think that, okay, there is no need of Srotas because they are everywhere. But in practicality, we have seen that many times it is very important to have a channel. Acharya Charaka in around 500 or 600 BC itself, he explained major channels which is sometimes correlated directly to the modern physiological organic systems. Even though the modern science developed only after 500 AD, these are the books written in 500 BC or 600 BC. So that means almost 1000 years of knowledge of Srotas is there. Many times people will directly correlate with one Srotas with one system, like Pranava Srotas with the respiratory system, Yasava Srotas with cardiovascular system, cardiorespiratory system, like that. There are also uh, channels for Srotas for Dhatu, Mala, and also importantly, you can see Srotas for food, water, and air. Srotas doesn't mean that all the Srotas is related with the digestive tract. It can be anywhere in the body. Another important thing while discussing about Srotas is from where it is originated. What is the root source of the Srotas? While explaining the origin of the Srotas, it not necessarily that it should have an anatomical connection. This can also be a physiological one, because sometimes you cannot expect a anatomical correlation with that Srotas. So we may consider physiological way, like in Manava Srotas, etc. And the Moolasthana or the is very important, because from that is the place many times any physiological activity or even pathological activity can begin. Many diseases also you can see these Srotas get disturbed, Srotas get damaged, Srotas get blocked, many pathologies. Moreover, Srotas is the site for manifestation of the disease, which is very important. Yeah, that has got some disconnection.
Okay, it's fine. Yes,
Yeah.
everything's fine.
Yeah. So the morbidity of any pathology also happen from Srotas, can also be manifested from the Moolasthana. For example, somebody is having Rasavha Srotas problem, then it is the original site is the heart. So many times the disease manifests from the heart. So the knowledge of Moolasthana or the original place from the Srotas starts is very important, because it can be the initial seat of the disease. It can also be the site, it can also be the site where we can do examination, we can look into the details of it, and we will be able to diagnose the problem too. Another important aspect of the Srotas is what function it does. That means that Is it just a carrier or a transporting channels or a pipe? No. It also does many transformation inside the Srotas. That means to say, it is not just content is flowing through one pipe, rather it also undergo many change inside that pipe. Depending upon the content it flows and the type of the Srotas, the color of the Srotas, nature of the Srotas, speed of the Srotas, everything varies. For example, Annavaha Srotas will have major functions when we are eating and the digestion. And some other time, those Srotas are under rest. Annavaha Srotas, the Srotas which carry the food, will be very active when we eat food when it is undergoing digestion. But when we are after the digestion, they are under rest. But whereas the pranavaha Srotas, which carry the prana, the vayu, they are continuously functioning from birth to death. So what I mean to say is that every Srotas has its own physiology differently. And when it comes to the pathology, things are little more complicated. Because two major pathologies it can happen. One, it can happen a structural damage. One, it can happen functional damage. Structural damage in the sense that Srotas got injury, then that injured Srotas will not able to function it properly, which is often called as Kavaigunya. Kavaigunya in the sense there is an problem in the structural damage happened. But when you have functional things will be a bit different. Functional damage in the sense, functional disturbance in the sense, it may be overactivity, underactivity, there may be different reasons. For example, the structural damage, it can be congenital. From birth itself, we may have some problem. Or it may be traumatic. After an injury, after an accident, we may get many Srotas get disturbed, or that can produce much problem. Or it can be of the previous illness, some disease may be disturbing the existence of the problem. So any history of previous illnesses over a period, it can produce different problems. Then the Srotodushti, that is the functional disturbance, functional damage of Srotas can happen due to multiple reasons. Mostly these functions can be disturbed due to the food habits or our daily activities, and which can create a lot of turbulence in the dosha, which in turn disturb dhatu. So when food and different activities will start disturbing the Srotas, it can have a different pathology like hyperactivity of Srotas, hypoactivity of the Srotas, or irregular activity of the Srotas. Hyperactivity or hypoactivity, etc. like that. Another important thing about Sroto dysfunction is due to the mental disturbance. When mind is disturbed, there are possibility that Srotas can also get disturbed functionally. So, if you look into the Srotodushti or the functional disturbance, it can majorly classified into four. For example, the first one is adipravritti, that is excessive formation of particular thing. That means, for example, your person is having diarrhea 10 times, he had a loose bowel. So this is an adipravritti of that Srotas. I am here not discussing about why this is adipravritti happened. That is another story. But what I am trying to understand is that a person was having bowel movement once or twice a day. Now this person had 10 times a loose bowel. That condition is called adipravritti. And it can happen the opposite way, that is Sangha, that means an obstruction. Instead of overactivity or hyperactivity, here hypoactivity comes. Instead of loose bowel, here the person is getting constipation. Person is not passing stools from last 2-3 days. This idea can be seen in many conditions like constipations, malasthamba, that is constipation. There are many situations we can have a slowdown of the Srotas. Even sometimes food. I have seen so many cases where Srotas are disturbed or a slowdown happen, like stomach. When they have slowdown, there is a delay in digestion. Another challenge for the Srotas are Siddha Grandhi. That means the channels get some external factors that will create some disturbance inside the channel. It can be a thrombus, or it can be anything. For example, in different dhatus, different things can change the consistency. Like in a urine, you may have high bilirubin, like that. For example, a thrombus in the deep veins in the leg, it may travel to the heart and can produce block in the heart. And Siddha Grandhi is a very important pathology in Shrota because it can make some fatality too. The last one is called Vimarga Gamana. That means diverting from the normal tract. I mean to say, the food is supposed to go to esophagus and stomach. But if food goes to trachea, that is Vimarga Gamana. So, now if you're considering these pathologies, we can have a lot of management also. So, in my seminar, here we don't have a detail of all the Srotas, but in the seminar, I'll be elaborating very detailedly each Srotas, its common causative factor, what are the symptoms, and how to manage. Here I didn't take any part of the treatment because we cannot say a generalized treatment in the Shrota. It depends upon which Srotas it is influenced. Based on that, treatment will be different. I mean to say, for example, pranava Srotas, similar to respiratory system. The treatment is completely different from respiratory system to cardiovascular system to osteology, etc. That is why I didn't kept any chikitsa or the treatment aspect here, because each things need a detailed elaboration. For example, we are dealing with the respiratory system, then respiratory system has its own role to play. Hence, it may be related with hearts also sometime. So, if there is some excessive activity of respiratory system, there may be hyperventilation, how to treat that. Those things will be discussed in my lessons. Okay, now let's see. I will try to answer some of the questions and come back to the slide. So, first question was, can Srotas be compared to different type of tubes? Yes, grossly we can consider in the tube, but there are so many other things which is not in tube we have to consider during understanding of the Srotas. So it is difficult sometimes to really translate that word because it is a complex concept with a mixture of activities and transformation happening in the body. When we speak about large Srotas, like alimentary tract, yes, of course, it is a wonderful, longest tube in our body, having large size. So in the gross Srotas, the structure, nature, everything will be easier. But you think about sodium channels, potassium channels, which is also very part of the electrical activity of the heart. is almost invisible. We are assuming or we are understanding as this is the way it's happening. Another question was how to understand correctly about whether lymphatic, venous, arterial. Yes, they are the conventional medical science system, and it can be correlated with this system, Srotus too. But again, I want to state that don't limit, um, don't limit the things to larger system. That is important, because I told you there are so many situations. There are minute things are there, small channels are there, that also to be considered. Another question is, hello, what is the difference between Srotas and Nadi? Actually, in Ayurveda, the word Srotas, Dhamani, Sira, Nadis are many times used in the synonyms in many books. Because many times, if you look into the Sanskrit, the root word, the original root word of the meaning of the word, each has very specific intention to use that word. But unfortunately, many people misused the terms and they used randomly without knowing the original root word. But nadis are being used in other textbooks also, like in Yoga Shastra and other places, where it has been used as the channels for different type of energies. Okay. So another thing, please tell me who is the main one in the correct work of Shrotas in person at level of cause and who's controls. Okay.
I think the key
Actually,
factor.
sorry.
Yes, I think the key factor in the correct function of
Yeah,
Srotus.
yeah. The key factor is the root from the where it starts. The origin, Mulasthana, is a very important for each Srotas because from where it starts everything. So different Srotas, since it carry different content and different speed, different color, there are innumerable reasons to get disturbed by it. Another important thing is that again, um, when the Srotas is disturbed, sometimes it may not need any treatment at all. It may be the natural course of the things happening. For example, I took a certain type of food, and after 3 or 4 hours, I had 2-3 hours. After that, I had 4 or 5 times of diarrhea. According to the understanding, this diarrhea is an excessive activity of Pulisha Vahashotas. But maybe I had the food which is some toxic in nature or food poisoning. My body is doing a defense mechanism that is why I may be having a diarrhea. So in that situation, you don't need to stop that. Let that go. It will stop by itself. So what I mean to say in this context that even though there is some pathological thing happening, it doesn't mean that we have to treat it. Rather, we should know what pathology is. Another interesting question is what daily routine helps to maintain Srotas in normal condition? Physical activity, certain food, Dinacharya. The answer is Dinacharya. Ayurveda explains a particular daily routine. This is very, very important for cleaning and keeping our Srotas better. Physical activity is good. It helps channels to soothen, helps the flow of dhatus well. Certain food also will help. But in totality, Dinacharya makes the Srotas in its original dynamism. The next question is related with the elements and planets. Okay, I have no idea about astrology. I have no much idea about the astrology and things. So I cannot answer that question, but it is nothing to do with any specific to Mahabhuta here. Rather, this is something different. Next question is the concept of Srotas applicable to non-material components? Are there Srotas through which energy moves? Yes. There are like that is in other science they are called as energy channels, etc. But Ayurveda focus on other things, not on these type of things. What literature and edition would you recommend for deeper understanding of Ayurveda Shrotas in particular? Okay, I don't think there are books on Shrotas, but there are wonderful lessons in Veda education on Shrotas. I hope you can hear soon in this coming sessions. Next question, how to improve blood circulation at the capillary level, especially in the legs and arms, in order to prevent thrombophlebitis stars of the legs? Okay, that is also a Srotas problem, but thrombophlebitis is a very common issue where the microsrotas problem.
Окей, следующий вопрос. Как улучшить кровообращение на уровне капилляров, особенно ноги, руки, с целью профилактики тромбофлебита и звездочек на ногах? Доктор отвечает, что да, действительно, тромбофлебит – это проблема на уровне шротас, даже будет точнее сказать на уровне микрошротас, и проблема очень распространенная.
One of the household activity you can do to improve the microcapillary is do a massage of that area with a paste made out of sesame seeds plus milk. What you have to do is that you take a certain amount of sesame seeds, you boil that seeds in the milk, and once you boil it become paste like thing, and that paste you do massage with the legs. Definitely it can bring very good result. Next question is, what can Ayurveda offer to stabilize neural membrane to prevent Alzheimer's and memory loss due to mental and emotional exhaustion? Okay, actually that is much more complicated issue where we have to work a lot with the different therapies. We use Brahmi, Ashwagandha, many herbs, also special therapies. Tell me if it's possible to cure lymphostasis. Yes, lymphostasis can be reversed with proper therapy and local treatment, also some oral medications.
Are there any recommendations, Dr. Nambi?
There are therapies like Dhanyamlathara. There's a peculiar liquid poured on that lymphostasis area. Also, there is another therapy named Udvartana. These are two therapies are excellent in reducing the lymphostatus. But this type of therapy need a long time therapies and exercise, yoga, many things to reduce the lymphostasis. Another question is, what can be done if there is a pain in the heart due to rheumatism? Actually, yes. One thing I do is I'll ask the people to take concentrated ginger water to drink, which reduces this type of pain. I also ask the people to take 1 or 2 pieces of garlic with milk. That means in a boiled milk, add 1 or 2 small pieces of garlic and take every day. This also reduces this pain. Another question is, are there any products that clog Srotas like fermented milk? Yes, there are so many things in Ayurvedic books. They are called Abhishyanti. This category of food, this category of medicine are called Abhishyanti products. So in continuation with the previous conversation, they asked how to prepare, how to boil. Okay, you take around 75 grams of sesame seeds, black sesame seeds. Add 200 ml of milk. Add another 400 ml of water. You boil it. So now you boil and let the water reduce, and you get a paste of milk with the sesame. And that with that paste with the lukewarm temperature, you do massage on that affected area, you will get very good result. Can you translate the next question, that Natalia question?
Okay, so when we talk about Srotus obstruction, does it mean that something that there is something inside of them which should not be there, or do we talk about that they decrease in size?
When we have pathologies, we can have constriction of the Srotus sometime an internal things like a Siragranthi, like an internal things that also blocks the channels. Next question is swelling in the legs, stomach. Is this also clogged Srotus? How does Ayurveda swelling in the legs? Okay, swelling in the legs can be due to some Srotus problem. But what about stomach? Okay, if there is a delay in digestion, that can also be due to Srotus.
Okay, I think the question was in some kind of swelling in the abdominal area.
Oh, okay. Because my translate says that swelling in the legs and stomach. No, okay.
Kind of same words in Russian. Okay.
Of course, whenever we have a stagnation, it's called sangha or obstruction, Ayurveda try to use different technique like Swedana procedure to mobilize the content which has been stagnated there. Then once that mobilization happen, we will try to see if this can be brought into a nearest route of elimination. That means to say we try to mobilize those things so that it will no more disturb the channels, rather it reaches some place where it has to be eliminated. Some situations it will not be eliminated in the same day, but it may be eliminated later, because sometime we may be preparing the materials to travel from there and reach the site of elimination. Your next question is, can taking steam bath is considered one of the auxiliary method of cleaning? Yes, steam bath is one of the best thing, very supportive, very common in the cleaning material. So I think I try to answer all the questions, and I inviting you all to join in the online course. We also have beautiful audio sessions, video sessions, slides, and also I will meet you in person with your question answers. Every time a lot of questions can be answered precisely. And thank you, Alex, for your wonderful translation.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Nambi.
Okay, looking forward to see you, hear you, all of you in the Amagni Srotus, right?
Thank you very much, Dr. Nambi.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, bye, Dr. Nambi.